Good evening, everyone. I call this October 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to order. Member Barbara Baca, Member Benavides, Member Lewis, and Member Sanchez are excused. All other members are present. Next, we will have the pledge, a moment of silence led by the pledge, and we'll just do it all together. So. So next we have approval of the minutes, which we are going to skip for now, and then we're going to move on to proclamations and awards. So this is the quarterly employee recognition awards. I don't know if we have any of the employees here. We have a large amount of awardees, but it doesn't look like, but if I do call right on, he's here to claim his check. So if you're here, please, when I call your name, just work your way to the podium. So we're going to start off with Erica Smith and Bianca Mays, $100. These individuals are recognized for community service in their monthly collection of donations for the New Mexico Veterans Integration Center, Silver Horizons, and New Mexico Animal Humane Society. They will be receiving $100. Congratulations to these ladies. Next, we have Anthony Miller, $500. Mr. Miller, a training specialist, is recognized for his rapid and effective response to a medical emergency which saved a coworker. That's amazing. Congratulations to Mr. Miller, $500. Dominic Trujillo will be receiving $100. Mr. Trujillo is recognized for going above and beyond in helping to identify the contact customers who would be affected by the Griegos Sewer project, rehab project. Thank you to Mr. Trujillo. Next, we have Karen Hoovey, Rocio Franco, and Maria Metters. They will be receiving $75. These individuals are recognized for going above and beyond their normal work duties to update the dispatch section's standard operating procedures, SOPs. Congratulations. Kendall Pike and Nathan Grice, 250 plus 9 hours. Orale. These individuals are recognized for their outstanding initiative, technical expertise, cross-functional collaboration, and successful migrating critical computer applications from a hosted vendor to an on-site environment. Thank you, gentlemen. James Freeman, $75 plus 4 hours. Mr. Freeman is recognized for his outstanding contributions to the MDC lift station project and the Tohajali transmission line project. Congratulations, Mr. Freeman. Rachel Stone, $350. Ms. Stone is recognized for her tireless community relations efforts. She's awesome. Okay, next, Luis Ordonez Olivas and Emily Crower. Luis is here. $75 plus 4 hours. These individuals are recognized for their assistance in organizing a key public meeting regarding the Carnual wastewater project. Thank you. Joshua Towery, $250. Mr. Towery is recognized for taking the initiative in overseeing backflow prevention at the surface water treatment plant. Next, we have Henry Ortega, Robert Lucero, Isaac Hernandez Mendoza, Alan Palos Rios, Mark Gallegos, Donald Harrison, Juan Cedillo, Marcus Sena, Diego Sanchez Moya, Mario Flores Peaks, Obed Marquez, Randy Baca, Michael Elkins, Michael Johnson, Christopher Torres, and Ronnie Padilla will each be receiving $50. These individuals are recognized for their rapid and professional response to a malfunction that had the potential to interrupt sewer service to about 350 homes and businesses. Thank you all. Next, we have James Ruiz, Ryan Stewart, Victor Martinez, Pedro Benitez, Juan Sanchez, Tristan Gutierrez, Derek Baca, Anthony Gabaldon, Gilbert Zamora, Isaac Hernandez Mendoza. Hey, he's on here twice. And then Alan Palos Rios and Ricardo Vasquez, $50 each. These individuals are recognized for their exemplary efforts in containing a sanitary sewer overflow on Blake Road. Thank you. That's in District 3. Daniel Mora, Jonah Martinez, Christopher Cordova, Andrew Lente, Orlando Lovato, $100 each. These individuals are recognized for their innovation in undertaking well rehabilitation work that would typically need to be contracted out. So thank you all. And then Ernesto Padilla, $250. Mr. Padilla is recognized for his innovation and initiative in automating a key water treatment process. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Padilla. And then next we have Harry Romero, $100. Mr. Romero is recognized for his success in preventing damage to water authority infrastructure during contractor operations near utility assets. So he was the final recipient, and thank you all. We appreciate you. This is my favorite part of sitting here on the Water Authority, just seeing how so many people go above and beyond what they really need to be doing to make sure we run an efficient authority. Is that correct? Am I missing some? Oh, yes, absolutely. Who is it? What's the name? Oh, hey. Thank you so much for going over and above. Thank you. Appreciate you. So next, we're going to move on to approval of minutes. I make a motion to approve the September 17th, 2025 minutes. Is there a second? There's a second by Ms. Single, CAO Single. I'm like, what's your type? All those in favor say yes and raise your hand. Yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay. Next, we move on to public comment. Ms. Salas, do we have anyone who has signed up to speak? You'll have 3 minutes with a 2.5-minute warning. And if you would call the first speaker.
Madam Chair, I'll call in online Elaine Hebert. Go ahead, Ms. Hebert.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Well, greetings from Las Cruces. The theme of my comments today is not new. The Middle Rio Grande is exceeding the Rio Grande compact allotment by some 25,000 acre-feet each year and must reduce consumption now in order to avoid litigation. So this deficit takes on new meaning as I sit here listening to people who have been struggling with their overconsumption for several decades. And after years of expensive litigation, New Mexico spent something like $500 million on its lawyers and experts alone. The parties have recently approved a settlement to curb the LRG's water consumption by 18,000 acre-feet. So we even have more. But the devil is in the detail. How will they cut out that 18,000 acre-feet? How much will it cost? What will happen if we're not able to fulfill those promises? The Middle Rio Grande must learn from the struggle. We need not spend our scarce funds on litigation when we know the problem. One thing for sure, as pumping depletes river flows, the long-term solution must be to reduce pumping. This year, ABCWA had one of the highest pumping amounts since the San Juan Chama project came into operation. So earlier comments from me have talked about how the ABCWA has shifted from the 2016 plans to the focus to enable aquifer levels to rebound to 50 feet below pre-development levels. Now it appears the plan is to manage the levels at 110 feet below pre-development. This new approach will not slow down depletions as needed. In the plan update, one of the few items being considered in the demand section is to change reaching the GPCD goal of reaching 110 GPCD units by 2037. Presumably, this might be due to the difficulty of lowering GPCD now. The target has been changed to be higher. We need it to be an annual goal in the goals and objectives. Success is just not going to be achieved by reducing our needs. The ABCWA must be a leader in the consumptive reduction discussion in the MRG. So taking proactive actions now will help promote goodwill. And I've put in a number of suggestions. Work with other water providers to discuss how to reduce those depletions, and then develop and implement a plan. Develop goals and objectives with the city and county as called for in the budget ordinance to coordinate efforts. Re-implement the goal of attaining 50 feet below pre-development aquifer levels, and using the huge amount of data collected from the smart meters, revamp the GPCD to be more robust and set it for various users.
Thank you, Ms. Hebert.
The region, one last little thing, the region is facing another La Nina, so actions cannot wait. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're going to have to add your name to the agenda under public comment. Thank you, Ms. Hebert. So we're now on to, or is there anyone else signed up to speak? I apologize.
Madam Chair, there's nobody
That's it.
else.
Okay, thank you. Announcements and communication. Our next meeting is scheduled for November the 19th at 5 p.m. in the Vincent E. Grego Chambers. And it looks like we have an item that we are moving up from other business? It's not? Okay, it says it on the script. So then we move on to introduction of legislation. You're gonna have to remind me where that's at. This will be R 2541, and are we gonna read this legislation in now, and then it'll require immediate action, correct? Okay, so this is R 2541, approving and authorizing the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to enter into a grant agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department for the Mesa del Sol lift station and appropriating the grant funds. I move a do pass.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of R 2541. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, I think the motion would be for immediate action, and then it would be heard under approvals.
Okay, that's what I would, yeah, okay. So do you want to just read, is somebody going to present on this, or there's no?
Madam Chair, under approvals.
Okay. So then we have R 2542. This is authorizing to enter into a loan grant agreement with the New Mexico NMFA and the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority in the amount of $14,012,600,000 grant amount and $1.4 million loan amount for the purpose of financing the cost of constructing a new arsenic treatment plant for existing wells. And this is Martha Ortiz and David Laughlin.
Good evening, Madam Chair and respected board members. Is this on? Okay, there it goes. This resolution is being introduced this evening and with final approval at the next board meeting. This authorizes the Water Authority to enter into a loan grant agreement in the amount of $14 million with the New Mexico Finance Authority, supported by the Water Trust Board. 12.6 million of that is grant funds, and 1.4 is the match for repayment. We have Dave Laughlin to explain the project itself. I'll turn it over to Dave.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this project will construct a 4.5 million gallon per day arsenic treatment facility at our Santa Barbara reservoir site. It'll utilize high arsenic water from our Santa Barbara Well 1 and The project's been in design for 18 months. It is currently in bidding right now, and we'll have a contractor selected, and hopefully bring that to the board in November for approval, and then be able to be under construction with this project in January, February of 2026, with a construction time frame of approximately 18 to 24 months.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? CAO Cinco.
Thank you. Madam Chair, just a quick question, and I want to make sure that we understand exactly this arsenic, this project is going to address what specifically in terms of arsenic treatment in which neighborhoods and areas?
It will serve the freeway trunk, but again, we can take this water and we can, using our system, we can actually utilize it in several different locations. Basically, the bottom line is the 4.5 MGD will be a significant boon to our existing water source supply.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Olivas.
Just a little clarifying question on that. Where exactly is this facility going to be located?
The facility is being built on the same site as our current Santa Barbara reservoir and well one site. We have two existing reservoirs, and our well site is I don't have the exact address right off the top of my head, but it's Perfect. Thank Carlisle and Claremont. So on the east side.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any additional questions? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, stay right there. So R 2544 is authorizing the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to accept, this isn't the same right now, grant award agreement for O2F 88001 with the United States Environmental Protection Agency for the Carnual wastewater project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is introduction as well. We applied for congressional direct spending, and we got awarded through the EPA department, introducing an award of $1,050,000 for, and it's 100% grant. There's no match requirements, but we're going to contribute some match requirements, of course, to get the project going. And David's going to talk about the project.
Madam Chair, members of the board, as you're all well aware, the Water Authority has worked with the county for over 20 years to help expand water services to the community of Carnuel. This $1,050,000 will be used for preparing design packages for expanding the sewer system in Carnuel. We've identified sewer design packages that will impact the most people possible within the Carnuel community. The goal with using this money will be to prepare at least one and perhaps two design packages, be able to have them prepared as basically shelf-ready or shovel-ready projects. And then the goal with this would be to then be able to leverage this design to go offer additional funding to then go into construction.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you so much. So now we are on to the consent agenda. I make a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Commissioner Olivas. All those in favor say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Thank you for that. That motion passes. Next, we're on to approvals. We have, under approvals, we have R 2539 authorizing the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to submit an application for funding to the New Mexico Environmental Department to Clean Water State Revolving Fund for Non-Potable Water Reuse Treatment Plant. We have Ms. Carrion and Mr. Loffman. Hi.
Hello. Madam Chair, members of the board, I stand before you to present R 2539, which grants the Water Authority authorization to submit an application up to $400 million to the New Mexico Environmental Department, Clean Water SRF, for the development and construction of a non-potable water reuse treatment facility. And David can answer any questions or go over the project for this.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this Bosque treatment plan, as many of you are well aware, has been in the planning and now in the design stages. Under the consent agenda, you approved our selection of a CMAR contractor, a construction manager at risk, which is basically a contractor that will work with our design consultant to identify value engineering solutions, help us to control costs. Our goal with this project is to ultimately build a satellite treatment facility on the west side that will treat water from northwest Albuquerque, and then ultimately be able to utilize that water as reuse water on the west side to offset potable demands for irrigation. So this is part of our long-term Water 2120 strategy. Our project manager is here tonight, and she'll be working, Patricia Jones, she'll be working very closely with our existing consultant, Carollo, as well as the selected CMAR contractor, Bradbury Stam, to basically work as hard as we possibly can to control costs on this project. It's certainly going to be in the $300 million range, and our goal with this CMAR alternate delivery approach is to hopefully control those costs as we go through design, look at the equipment selection options that allows us to produce and ultimately construct as cost-effective of a treatment plant as possible.
Thank you. Are there any questions? CAO Single.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question around just giving some perspective for folks. I think it's important in terms of when we talk about the reuse of the water and how you all, which I know you do, coordinate that in thinking about both county and city parks and how we think about understanding what that real need is for the northwest corridor of or quadrant of the state of the city. Can you speak a little bit to the capacity that you intend for this to be able to handle, and what justifies that?
Yes, ma'am. So this treatment facility will be designed for, this is the first phase, is to basically produce the treatment facility that will treat that water. And then subsequent phases of this project will ultimately build we call it the purple pipe network, right? The reuse network that would then provide that water to golf courses and other irrigation parks and schools and things like that. The facility will be a 10 MGD facility, so 10 million gallons per day is what will be available. What's been estimated as far as overall demands is somewhere in the 6 to 7 million gallon per day range for current water consumption for irrigation. So that is what ultimately will likely be provided when the project is fully completed.
Thank you so much.
I just had a question about, so, tomorrow we're having the ribbon cutting on the outfall at the Southside project. Will this also have a return flow to the river, or will this be totally recirculated?
Yes, sir. This initial phase that we'll build this treatment facility, initially all of that flow will go back to the river. So there will also be an opportunity where this initial volume from this treatment facility will go right to the river and provide basically a corridor or a wetted corridor for the river, which is certainly an additional advantage.
And this is around the Montano Bridge area, so
Coors and
roughly in that
Montano.
area. Great.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Olivas. Thank you both. I don't have any questions. I think this is something that you guys have been talking about for quite some time now, so it's nice to see it coming to fruition. So with that, I move approval of R 2539.
Second.
There's a motion, second by Commissioner Olivas. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We are now on to item B, which is R 2540, authorizing the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to submit an application for match funding through the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration for the Carnival wastewater project.
So, Madam Chair, members of the board, this is the match funding for the EPA grant award that Marta spoke to previously. The EPA requires a 20% match, which is this $300,000, and we will request this funding through the Infrastructure Planning and Development division through the New Mexico State Finance and Administration. So this is authorizing you all to allow us to submit that application. And David can stand for any questions or comments about the project.
And the project is, Madam Chair, members of the board, the project is similar to what I described earlier. This will be matching funding to allow us to support that design effort to prepare those sewer installation packages, and then basically prepare and leverage those shovel-ready packages for ultimately seeking funds for construction.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, thank you. Just to clarify, I want to make sure I understand. This application is to the newly formed states matching funds for federal grant applications primarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Not specific to water, just for
Correct.
infrastructure and
Overall,
other investments.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So seeing no other questions or comments, I would move approval of R 2540.
Second?
There's a motion and second by Madam CAO. All those in favor say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes.
That motion passes. Thank you so much. Now we are on to, and the staff, we just do things a little different at the city. That's why I got confused. So, so what we're doing is, we're reading the legislation, so we're gonna act upon it the day it was introduced. So that's kind of, we do a formal process in the beginning of that. So, thank you. This is R 2541, approving and authorizing the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to enter a grant agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department for the Mesa del Sol lift station and appropriating grant funds. And this is Ms. Ortiz and Mr. Laughlin again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution is for immediate action this evening due to the fact that this grant award, capital outlay award, was previously approved through the legislative session here last January. And there's a deadline to accept the award in the amount of $200,000. And David will talk about the specifics of the project.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the scope of work that was intended for this grant was originally associated with supporting planning, design, and construction of lift stations in the Mesa del Sol area, recognizing that as that community grows, additional sewer infrastructure will be required to support the homes and the economic development that's happening out there. So this $200,000, currently the regional lift station at Mesa del Sol is at a 60% design level. So these funds will be used either as part of that design effort to support part of that design effort, or it's also been identified as a potential option to utilize that funding to help manage the construction and the inspection of that effort. The bulk of that design and construction is a developer-driven effort, but these funds can certainly be used. The Water Authority has been coordinating very, very closely with Mesa del Sol to ensure that ultimately this infrastructure that we'll own and operate is being constructed appropriately and correctly, being designed and constructed appropriately and correctly. So that's what this $200,000 will be utilized for.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yep. Madam CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This project is obviously much larger than $200,000. And so I want to acknowledge that. Do we generally have I think we have an estimate on what we expect the project total cost to be? That I know is not our cost.
Yes, ma'am. Somewhere in the $30 to $35 million range is what this regional lift station at Mesa del Sol will cost.
Great,
for
thank you.
construction.
And Madam Chair, and for clarity, I think that this project is within the Mesa del Sol TID and PID, and there is likely significant other funding that will be reimbursed to the project. But I think that I appreciate very much that you all have worked so closely with the Mesa del Sol developer and all of the PID and TID infrastructure requirements that have happened. And this has been a significant discussion with I think both the county and the city in terms of ensuring that we're appropriately planning for this lift station to support the development out there. So I appreciate all the work you have done. It is evident in many of the discussions that we have in those PID and TID meetings, so thank you.
Any additional questions? I would reiterate what Madam CAO said, so thank you so much. So then with no other discussion, I would move approval of R 2541.
Second that?
There's a motion, a second by Madam CAO. All those in favor say yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes.
That motion passes. And then do I have to make a motion for immediate action? Because we do it the city. We don't need to do that here? We're fine? Okay, thank you so much. That's it for the official business. Now we're on other business, which is the most important, is about our water. We have OB 2519, Water System Overview, Joel Berman, about the state of our water.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Joel Berman. I'm the Plant Division Manager for the Water Utility Authority. As a Plant Division Manager, I get an opportunity to work with a talented group of staff in the surface water system, our groundwater system, and our distribution system, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about. Not so much about climate or conservation and that side of the business, which is very important as well, but really want to talk to you today about the mechanics of how we deliver water to our customers. So I'll jump right in and get started. Once again, I'm very hopeful this presentation provides you all an appreciation of the challenges, the capabilities, the size of our system. We have a very impressive system here in Albuquerque, and I'd like to highlight that for you tonight. So our agenda for this presentation is I'm going to talk a little bit about the water system background, our supplies, our water pumping, some of our treatment facilities. That's the San Juan Chama treatment plant, as well as some arsenic facilities that we talked about a little bit earlier. We're going to talk about water storage and reservoirs. Some folks call those tanks. And then we'll conclude with a discussion about distribution. So I'll start a little bit with the water system background. I have a publication here from April of 25, just a few months ago. A gentleman that's well known in our community, a professional in geological and groundwater. His name is Mr. John Shoemaker. He has a firm here in town that advises municipalities and utilities throughout the state on wells and well development. And Mr. Shoemaker put together this document that's entitled The Beginnings and Early History of Albuquerque's Water Supply, 1880 to 1960. If you're interested in history and how the water system started, it's a fantastic publication with lots of pictures and old maps, and it's just kind of a neat document. But the story begins with the arrival of the railroad in the 1880s. And back in those times, water systems were just starting to get developed here. We had hand-dug wells, we had steam-powered pumps. In this area that we're standing in or sitting in here tonight, right in downtown Albuquerque. And so in the 1880s, there started to be a semblance of what a water system would look like. And for the next 40 years or so, that system slowly grew and advanced until 1918, when the city of Albuquerque purchased that private water system for about $400,000. Today, our water system is valued at billions of dollars, but $400,000 was a lot back in those times. And that was kind of the beginning of the city of Albuquerque water system. The publication goes on, and there's a lot of detail in there, but I pulled out a couple of highlights here. In the 1950s were the boom years here. And I've listed there was a lot of wells that were drilled throughout the service area. And a lot of those wells are still in production today. And then in the mid-50s, that really marks the start of our current water system, where folks started to lay out the master plan, the entire, the trunk system where our reservoirs would be horizontally, vertically. And so, it's just a fantastic read and a fantastic document. If you're interested, I can put you in touch with the document, but some really good information there. So as I mentioned, in the 1950s, we had a lot of wells drilled and the master planning of the system. And now if you fast forward today, we have over 200 facilities that produce and distribute water throughout our system. And so needless to say, it takes a lot of folks, a lot of funding to operate and maintain those facilities and provide the reliable service that we do to our customers here in the city. So we'll talk about supplies. And I already kind of tipped my hand. We have two water supplies here. We've got our surface water treatment, our surface water supply, and our groundwater. And I'll take a little pause right here to say that we're very excited about the San Juan Chama water treatment plant, especially knowing that we're about to start that surface water treatment plant up for the season here in early November. As we know, we've had some drying conditions in the Rio Grande, but if you've driven over the river here recently, we're starting to have water back in that river again, and with coordination with our water resources group, we've been given the green light to get that plant up and running. So we're pretty excited about that. So I'm going to present a lot of numbers here tonight, and I know it's a lot to digest, but I thought I'd start off by putting some of these numbers into perspective. Just yesterday here in the city of Albuquerque, our customers used 76 million gallons of water. The temperature's cooling. We had some precipitation not too long ago. Folks are turning off irrigation system, so our demand is going down. In the middle of this, actually on August 9th, our peak day this year was about 130 million gallons. So you can see we have a pretty decent swing. You know, middle of winter will be 55 million. Yesterday was 76, a peak of 130. So when we take a step back into the slide, we can see the San Juan Chama treatment plant has an 84 million gallon total production capacity. We're now in our 16th year of service there. And over those 16 years, we've produced over 238 billion gallons of surface water that we have treated and distributed to our customers. This next bullet goes to a comment I heard earlier about the Santa Barbara Arsenic Treatment Facility and where will that water be used. With the San Juan Chama treatment plant, not only did we build a treatment plant, but we constructed a conveyance system, and allows us to move water from the east side of our city and move it to the west side if needed. We have a lot of flexibility, which gives us a lot of redundancy and a lot of reliability in our system. So the question earlier about where will that water from Santa Barbara be used, can be used on the east side or the west side. So that's a little bit about our San Juan Chama surface water treatment plant. We also have a groundwater system, and we have 59 groundwater wells, and they can produce up to 177 million gallons per day. As we have mechanical or electrical failures, you know, that number will decrease as we make repairs to the system, but a lot of those wells date back to the 1950s. Provided a picture here of our San Juan Chama water treatment plant pump station. It's quite impressive if you ever get a chance to take a tour. We've got a lot of pumps that are capable of moving water throughout our city. And so speaking of pumps, we have a pumping strategy here. What we do is we pump water to reservoirs at increasingly higher elevations when electrical costs are most advantageous, right? We move it from the Rio Grande Valley slowly up towards the Sandia foothills or towards the West Mesa. And then when the electrical rates are higher, we turn off our pumps and we allow the water to gravity feed down and serve our customers. So we've kind of optimized our operations. I will mention that recently the Public Regulation Commission did approve some P&M rate increases to the tune of about a 20% impact to the Water Authority. So our team has been tasked with trying to optimize our system further to see how we can combat some of those raises, electrical costs that we'll be seeing come into effect here. I've listed some other metrics here. It's quite impressive. 39 potable water pump stations, and I've shown some pictures there. And within those 39 stations, we have close to 130 booster pumps. If every pump was running instantaneously, we could move 775 million gallons a day. That's quite a bit of water that we have the capability of moving. It also provides us the redundancy we need to make sure we're meeting customer demands throughout the peak season or when we have mechanical or electrical failures. The pumping doesn't happen by itself. We've got a group, we call them CC Ops for short, but it stands for Central Control Operations. Think of this as like the brains of the system. It's a highly sophisticated system with instrumentation and alarms. And we have a control room that's staffed 24/7, 365. I have a typo there, it's not 265. Think of this like mission NASA, like NASA mission control, right? The bank of computers and the screens. And we have staff that are trained to monitor those systems and the vitals. These could be reservoir levels, pumping rates, water quality, various alarms. And they also have the ability to control facilities. They can turn pumps on and off, increase, decrease dosing. So it's really the brains of our system that are watching over our water day and night to ensure that we're providing safe, reliable water. So I talked a little bit about the San Juan Chama treatment plant, but we also do some other treatment here in Albuquerque. We have really good quality groundwater here in our aquifer, but at some locations it requires treatment for arsenic, which is a naturally occurring mineral. We talked about Santa Barbara earlier, but we currently have 5 arsenic treatment facilities throughout our system. 3 of them are located west of the river, north of Paseo. And then another 2 kind of on the west side there. But I really wanted to focus on this bottom bullet because we've been here in front of this board talking about this last project here in the recent past, and it's the Volcano Cliffs arsenic treatment. This is located near Unser, Molten Rock, 81st area. Essentially what we have is we have 5 arsenic wells that we're not able to utilize to produce water. And so with this project, we'll be able to bring those 5 arsenic wells back online. It's going to give us 17 million gallons of additional water production capacity, bring that back into our portfolio that we can utilize really throughout the service area, but in this instance, it'll be used on the west side. So a very exciting project. It's in construction. It's kind of shown there in the bottom right-hand picture. You can see there's still some construction activity ongoing. But we hope to have this facility online late spring, early summer of 2026. A great addition to our water system. As far as water storage goes, these are the tanks or reservoirs that I talked about earlier. We have 62 of them. If they were all full to the tippy top, we'd have 247 million gallons of capacity. So like I said earlier, in the middle of winter when we have 55 million gallon a day demand, okay, we've got about 4 days of storage. In the peak of summer, we've got more like 2 days of storage in our tanks. What I'd like to highlight here, we have 54 of these reservoirs that were built from 1923 to 2004. So they're getting up there in age, especially, that's not a typo. The 1923 is an accurate date. Our Burton Reservoir near Carlisle in Cole is of that age. It has gone through a couple of rehabs over the years, but we're squeezing the life out of that asset right now. I will also mention we've just recently undertaken a reservoir inspection program to take a look at the internal and exterior condition of our reservoirs so that we can prioritize those assets and get them into our asset management program and our decade plan so we can get some rehabilitation projects funded for those so we can continue to ensure that these reservoirs are reliable into the future. Water distribution. I had a tough time getting a picture of water distribution. Most of those pipes are out of sight, out of mind, but the couple of pictures I grabbed here are some of our larger diameter water mains that are located in vaults, kind of buried under streets. But water distribution, near and dear to my heart. I worked in this group for a number of years. Over 3,000 miles of transmission and distribution mains running through city and county streets, ranging from 4 inches to 4 feet. Mostly PVC and cast iron. Most of the steel mains from the 1940s have been replaced. And there are 37 miles of San Juan Chama pipeline, ranging from 30 inches to 6 feet. So really big transmission lines. And then some of the other numbers are just kind of mind-boggling, right? 18,000 fire hydrants, 47,000 valves, 160 pressure-reducing valve stations, and 218,000 water accounts, which is also the water service line and meters. And so it's a heck of a lot of infrastructure that it takes to deliver that water that's a lot of times out of sight, out of mind, and until something goes wrong. And that's when we have our fantastic crews that are able to triage problems and address it in a timely manner. Before I get to questions and comments and discussions, I wanted to conclude by telling you a little bit about my week and our week. We had the EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency, here all week. They're still here, actually. They were here touring our facilities, talking to our people, reviewing our documentation, asking us some tough questions. And it's always somewhat stressful when you have a regulator in town to come and inspect you, but we really have a well-run utility. And so even though it was stressful, it makes the inspection so much easier. And I'm happy to say that we've had very positive feedback from the EPA about the operations and maintenance of our system. They were pleased with our programs, our asset management program, our capital improvement program. They've just had very pleasant interactions with our staff. And so, like I said, as stressful as it can be, it was very, I'm very happy that we have the system that we have, and we've maintained it in the way we have, that we had a really positive experience with our regulators this week. So I know that was a lot of data, a lot of information, so I'll stand for any questions you may have about our wonderful water system.
Madam CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple questions, but I just want to, so the water distribution lines that you talked about, just for some context that I think oftentimes the public doesn't understand, like water infrastructure and what it all means and what does it mean to me on a daily basis in my life. So I think about recently we've had some fun on 3rd Street. I would ask the question, so what the breaks and restoration that you all have had to handle in 3rd Street, that is really water distribution lines that you all are having to go in that are probably 50 years old. I don't know the age, but I think there's real value in folks understanding that it's very complex because it's down there, you know it's down there, but the conditions can change very quickly.
Yeah, 50, 60, 70-year-old pipelines. It's a great question. And there's not a lot of preventative maintenance we can do on those pipelines. There are some techniques that we can deploy to understand condition, but really it goes back to our asset management plan. If we have a history of main breaks, then we know that that's an asset that probably needs to be replaced sooner than later. In the instance, in the location you're talking about, we haven't had a whole lot of issues until recently. And so I think that asset has just reached the end of its life, and it was due for replacement, and that's why we jumped on it and got it replaced.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, I appreciate the communication that happens in that for the city. We get very good communication from you all in those moments, but I think that those realizations are important for the public to understand, right? You can't know the condition of a 50-year-old pipe that's buried in the ground every single day, and so how could you have prevented that moment in that time? So I appreciate that. I have one more question, Madam Chair. For the EPA inspection visit, I'm fascinated to hear your evaluation of how that went. I immediately, when we were talking earlier about applying for EPA funds and thinking about the world as it has changed related to the EPA's position and their mission and what they're doing, did you find that visit and that regulatory visit had a different tone or significant difference in terms of what they were looking at and commenting on compared to previous times that they have been here? And I'm not saying a specific previous time, just is it different?
This is the first time I'm involved with an EPA inspection here at the city of at the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Authority. We have had NMED, our state agency that does regulate us, come in and do perform inspections. I will say that the EPA team was very focused on cybersecurity, risk and resilience, emergency response planning, That's something that they wanted to review our documents on and ensure that we've positioned ourselves to be as prepared as possible if and when those, a cybersecurity event happens. Their tone has been not from a gotcha state, but more of a, we want to come help you. We want to take a look at your facilities and give you some direction. Of course, we won't have a report for another 60 days, and we'll see what actually comes out in that report. But the initial indications from them, it's been more of a partnership than an enforcement type inspection.
Commissioner Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for that, very simple, easy to understand explanation of our water system as a newbie here still. I know very little about it. I've enjoyed learning. I'm actually a history buff. I would really love to get connected with the book that you referenced by Mr. Shoemaker. And I just can't go without saying, because of my love of history and my, what I believe is accurate historical information about the role of Senator Dennis Chavez in bringing in the San Juan, securing the rights to San Juan Chama River water at a time when the conventional wisdom in Albuquerque, and I was alive in the 50s, I was born in the 50s, in the 60s at least, we thought we had enough water for 1 million people for 1,000 years. And so what so impresses me about that, and I read about that 30, 40 years ago, and I saw a really nice article in the newspaper about 5, 10 years ago that sort of confirmed what my recollection had, what I recall from years and years ago, that it was so visionary because he had no thought that he would see the fruit of that investment in his lifetime. And that is truly visionary leadership that needs to be repeated and distributed and acknowledged, because it was absolutely, in my opinion, and not being a knowledgeable in water, so I would really like to read that book and see how the thought process was at that time. And I understand there were people that went to him when he was in Washington to ask him to support this investment, and he did. To me, it's just amazing and impressive, and something that we should all kind of keep in mind in this day and age. So after having said all those nice things, and I appreciate your work and the information, I'm going to ask you a question that I think is hard, and something that's been back in my mind going back 30 or 40 years ago. Hadn't thought about this for a long time until you talked about the different piping that has been used for water over the years, including iron and steel and PVC. So my recollection, and I mean, I'm going back a long time, probably when I was in my early 20s, there was some indication, as I recall, that at one time we used asbestos pipe to supply water into my district, where I live, into the South Valley. And so I don't like to put a pall on a party, but I just like to inquire about that. That's something I haven't thought of for many years, and something that was concerned to me a long time ago. I suspect and I hope that those pipes have been replaced. And obviously that's not a substance that's being used and hasn't been for many, many years. And I'd just like you to sort of make me feel good about that concern.
Great dialogue, great points. And there has been a lot of visionary people that came well before my time that have set this water system, this community up for success. So I appreciate those comments. It's fantastic. To the comment about asbestos cement pipes, we do have a very small portion of asbestos cement pipes in our system. They will be replaced if we begin to see failures of those pipes. There's not a health hazard associated with asbestos cement pipes when they're in the ground and they're full of water. The concern with asbestos is when it becomes friable, fibrous, and airborne, and it gets into our respiratory system. That's where it can become a hazard to the construction workers, to Water Utility Authority workers that are working on those pipes. So it certainly is a hazard from that aspect, but from a public health standpoint, from the drinking water aspect, there is no regulation around that and no hazards from ingestion of the water that passes through those pipelines.
Thank you. Madam Chair, if I may just, is there some record of where those pipes were laid and some mapping of that and the current status of that? Do you have that information?
Absolutely. We do have an asset registry of all our pipes and the date they were installed and the material type. So we do have that, that information and the ability to generate a map.
And could you tell me just roughly how many years has been since that type of piping has been utilized in our system?
The asbestos cement pipe was popular in the 70s. You know, I think from the 80s on, there was none of that installed. Yeah.
Okay. But thank you. I would be interested in getting some information for my own personal edification and just reassurance. So thank you for going with me into that dark area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very good questions. If you do produce a map, I'd like to see that as well, because, yeah. Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joel, I just wanted to say thank you. Just a comment. Your passion for this really shows. It's been fun to tour some of the facilities with you and see your passion and your knowledge. You're great. You're part of that system. You built part of that system. You maintain that system, and you're a great asset to the utility and the whole community. And it's fun to listen to you talk and learn from you and learn with you about how this all works. And it kind of brings back the little kid in me playing with Legos and techniques and all these you know, mechanical toys. And this is the real life of that, you know, how that all kind of develops into infrastructure that supports our society. So it's really cool, and appreciate your passion.
Thank you very much for the kind comments. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And just to say what the Commissioner just said, you can see when you're describing all this, how you're beaming with pride with the work that you all do, right, collectively. I think an indication of that is, you know, the awards that we're getting for people really invested in this organization. So thank you for all your work. Madam Sengel mentioned it to me, but I noticed it as well, is just that when you talk about Albuquerque and, for example, like the Atrisco land grant, which predates the city of Albuquerque by 3 years, you know, we were built on, you know, I'm not going to go down zoning stuff because I know we did away with our sector plans at the city of Albuquerque, which I didn't like. That was previous this administration. But, you know, just talking about, you know, the names of all these systems were, you know, they're the names of the towns that were here and which required the water and needed the water to, you know, and then it's grown from there. So, yeah, it takes a village. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next we have OB 2520 Water Report, Mr. Kelly.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm Mark Kelly, the Water Resources Manager. When we're looking at our supply metrics snapshot, going back to the last full month that we have data for in September, we were 100% on groundwater. As Mr. Berman told you, we are moving to in early November to try and get some surface water production on the plate. Our groundwater pumping is at 110% compared to our goal, which is under our drought measures, and our GPCD is currently at 126, which is also under our drought metrics. And the map there on the left indicates that our drought severity and coverage index is at 277, which is also under our drought metrics. So the DSCI being below 300 and our combination of GPCD and annual groundwater pumping goal, when we look at our drought indicators, indicates that we are not in drought according to our drought management plan. And that has been because of, I think, a bit of cooling temperatures as well as increased precipitation. We aren't at a normal year yet, but we are looking a lot better than we were in mid-July. We have had some recent rains, and we are hearkened that there was a lot of rain up in southern Colorado in the areas of the San Juan Chama project. The San Juan Chama project actually got about 6,600 acre feet in a pulse in the last couple of weeks through the project from those rains, which usually we don't get any water at this time of the year. When we look for the seasonal outlook, temperature outlook is expected to be above normal, or well, it is expected that the chances that are above normal will be higher. And then precipitation, there's a greater chance that precipitation will be below normal. You know, we've been in drought stage for most of the summer. You know, the drought advisory, where we've been doing drought classes for our customers. We have one scheduled for Friday that is still going to happen. We have some folks that are already signed up for that, and we've really had a lot of great participation, I think, in our Weather the Drought classes. So the last one is October 24th on Friday. And that concludes the water report. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take the opportunity because you mentioned the San Juan Chama project and kind of sharing this more with my colleagues, but also with staff. I had the opportunity to go up to Southern Colorado with the 232 partnership. Don't ask me what it means, but I'm sure there's people in here that know. And had some really interesting discussions and conversations with local leaders and water leaders around the region. That was up in Pagosa, so you know the headwaters of the Rio Grande and the start of a lot of our not just the Rio Grande but the San Juan Chama. So we went and looked at the Little Oso diversion dam and talked a lot about the thinning and the work that they're doing up there to try and preserve those watersheds and actually expand their ability to produce water. And so it was just very interesting that they were actually presenting the forests and those, particularly those headwaters regions, as infrastructure, and infrastructure worthy of investment, and infrastructure that benefits a much larger area than just the Pagosa region or the Southern Colorado region, because and Albuquerque and Santa Fe featured very prominently in those discussions because it was mentioned many, many, many times that some of the predominant users of the water that's produced in that region are these two metro areas and the tribes and other towns and villages in between. So and at the time it was very, very dry up there. They said it hadn't rained at all. Talking to a farmer up there was saying they used to get 200 inches in the mountains and 25 on the farm, and this year they got none on the farm and 25 in the mountains. And so, a huge, just a climate shift, right? We know that's happening. And so, but anyway, I just wanted to present it as something that I really benefited from and learned a lot from. And the utility is investing in that in a relatively small way, but investing in the Rio Grande Watershed Partnership, whatever it's called. And so I think that's worthy of further discussion because it is an important asset and helps us with our San Juan Chama water and our native water. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. Any other questions? We have none. Thank you so much. Appreciate the report as always. And seeing no other business, this meeting is adjourned.